here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him, and 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk. It's Tuesday night, the 25th day of the month of December, Christmas Day, and we're live. Wanted to log on tonight and do somewhat of a holiday / Christmas live stream and find out what's on your mind. And so as always, give it a second before we go back and forth. But over the last couple of days, there's been a lot of activity in the economy, as well as just global events in general, from political, from geopolitical, from all the situations happening over the Middle East. And so definitely want to find out what's on your mind, and also more importantly, find out how your Christmas was today. And hopefully it was very enjoyable and gathered with a lot of gathering with family and friends and whatnot. So as always, feel free to chime in via chat where you're watching us from. And then more importantly, if you want your voice to be heard, there's a number above my head, 1-833-LIVE-RTD. And then we can find out what's going on in your world. And so, we'll be 30, 40 minutes tops, given us the fact it's the holiday and want people to still be able to enjoy time with family and friends, but want to make it sure I can provide opportunity for those that want to share what's on their mind. And so, Vernon, how you doing, my friend? Appreciate you for watching us. And so one thing I want to comment on is basically the last 72 hours and just do somewhat of a recap and a glimpse back into some of the events that's taking place. And more importantly, find out and get your thoughts on what we probably can expect tomorrow morning when markets open up officially, heading into the rest of this weekend. So, that being the case, I wanted to basically give you my thoughts on where I believe this could head and some things that I think we should watch out for. And so, given the fact that we've had, looks like over the last 72 hours, as I mentioned, at least 5 events that have taken place, whether it be from Friday's chat with the federal President Trump basically doing some research to find out if he could fire Jerome Powell. Then the next day, Steve Mnuchin talking to 6 CEOs of the too big to fail banks to find out how liquid they are and all that type of things, and basically to get a pulse as to the health of those banks there. And so that's something that I don't think the U.S. Treasury, to my knowledge, has ever done, because typically the Federal Reserve has always taken the lead when it comes time to checking in with the commercial banks. And then we have the government shutdown. So those are 3 events that's taking place. And then we have the current stock market hammering, and especially this past Monday, or yesterday rather, on half a day worth of trading to have lost close to 1,000 points. Is the worst Christmas Eve in the last 100 years. And then the very last one, we have the inverted yield curve, where it looks like I think the 1 year and the 5 year is completely inverted. You know, it pays more to lend the government money now than it would be to lend it in the future. And when that type of thing happens, it never ends well. So those 5 things are catalysts for what I believe will be some type of complete market meltdown soon. Now the question will be, will the government, will the central bank, will there be some type of run to the rescue before things get worse starting tomorrow morning? So with that being the case, I want to find out your thoughts on that, because I believe that it just appears to me that based upon the trends over the last couple of weeks especially, there's been more of a sell-off than a recovery, to where I can see the markets continue to sell off even more. But then leading up to what will be the question. So that's what I want to cover tonight. And so we got Emerson. How you doing? Merry Christmas. We got Monty on here. Says Trump's pumping the markets. So pumping the markets or trying to keep confidence in the markets. Which one? And so I think, I actually watched a CNN report today of President Trump in the Oval Office giving his thoughts and comments on the last couple of days, and he spun the narrative for a minute because one of the question was, what are your thoughts on the current markets and the Fed interest rates? Do you believe the Federal Reserve is the reason, whatever? And then he basically said, yes, the Federal Reserve is the reason for this, but I'm confident that they'll make the right decision. I'm confident that they'll kind of like saying they'll come to their senses and they'll make the right choice or make the right decision. And so I'm thinking, of course, he had to say that presidential keep things somewhat hopeful, but I would imagine it's not going too well behind the scenes with the commercial banks as well as the Fed, just because he's the first president to ever come out, to my knowledge, to reference is it possible to fire someone that he's put in office. So we'll see. It says, Jordy says, yeah, Asian markets are down too. That is very true. And what the thing is, because there's been so much activity over here in the States, I haven't really even been paying much attention to the overall, the global markets, because like always, especially, from the Great Recession, Great Recession was more so triggered here, give or take a little activity in Europe, but it was more so triggered here. And then the dominoes fell from from inside the U.S. to outside. And I kind of think that might be the case again. And so, like always, the Fed leads the charge when it comes to reacting to situations. So as of now, they have not reacted to the tremors in the markets. And so how long will they hold off before they react or comment on the true health of our economy? We'll see. But what I would anticipate is that if there is some type of major correction, even more so this week in the equities market, that leads to more of a panic, I can see some type of intervention. What kind, I don't know, because the last thing they want is for there to be a massive sell-off of equities from the public, but then also there comes into question on the liquidity of the banking sector, to where people start to get somewhat concerned with their savings and their deposits in banks, to where they just say, hey, let's go take out a little bit more cash because we might be approaching something that we may not be able to recover from so easily, to where, the panic leads into some type of bank situation where people start running to the banks. And that's the last straw that will definitely break the camel's back, because with Mnuchin calling the banks to find out how liquid they are, that lets me know that when it comes towards depositors' funds, we all know that there's nowhere near enough actual paper to cover the balance sheet on the bank. So, but we'll see how that pans out. So anyway, as always, give it a couple minutes, let more people log in. But more importantly, if anyone has anything they want to share via the phone lines, 1-833-LIVE-RTD is the number. And also, if we have any new viewers, definitely let me know where you're watching us from. I always want to make sure I welcome new members into the community. And then more importantly, find out how was your Christmas day. Given the fact it's still not over, I had somewhat of a long day. And just to give you a little rundown on the topic around the table, in my household, was gathered amongst a lot of aunties and uncles, a lot of people that are a lot, older, a couple new retirees in the family. And so I can hear the conversation on one side of the room, but of course, because everybody knows where I stand and, what I focus on the most, I stayed out of it and would rather be invited into the conversation than to jump in and try to, share my 2 cents. But it ended up turning out to where I can sit and listen to the fear in the room. There was so much uncertainty, so much doubt as to what's going on. And so out of, say, 4 or 5 aunts, 4 or 5 uncles, and whatnot, everybody going around the table sharing their thoughts. And mind you, let me say, out of the, say, 8 or so people, 3 or 4 are newly retired. And so listen to, the sounds of their voice in the uncertainty. Let me know that, they're in for a world of trouble. And so I end up jumping into the conversation, and I'll take this call, but then I'll definitely let you guys know more of the conversation. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, I'm on the air.
I'm sorry?
Am I on the air?
Yes, you are. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Fuck.
So as always, got a couple people out there with nothing better to do but to play around the phone lines. But appreciate you for wasting your time. So anyway, I'll get back to my story. So just sitting around the room listening to, just the sound of the sound of their voice, the tone of their voice. There was so much uncertainty, and so I let it go. Didn't jump into it because a lot of it went from the markets to the political situation, and a lot of people are saying that Trump, he runs his mouth too much. He's the reason that the markets are dipping, and I'm thinking like it goes a lot deeper than that. And so once again, didn't want to jump in on that one, but I left it alone. Within 20 minutes, hey Mike, we need you. Come over here and sit down. We got to talk to you. We want to find out your thoughts. And so I walked over there and shaking my head like, I don't know how to break this to them, but this is the time where if you were not prepared, if you were not completely informed as to what's going on with your financial futures, then it'll be hard to let you know now as they say, SHIT hits the fan, sort of say. So with that being the case, I end up having a great conversation, basically letting my family members know that because of the debt and the artificial nature of our economy, this will not end well for anybody. And especially, I was mentioning that because all of you guys referring to them are at that point of your life where you're looking to withdraw from the system. My biggest fear, and speaking to them, says for you guys, you've devoted your whole life into this system, and my biggest fear is that you won't be able to receive the promises that were promised to you. And so once again, went back and forth, a lot of questions on what should we do. And the biggest thing I could actually give them advice wise, because they're family, is to pay close attention to what's going on. Like, don't dismiss this, because I had one or two people at the table was saying, it's going to work itself out. Look what happened last time. The markets recovered. And I'm saying, no, this time it's a lot different because of how artificial everything is. Nothing's real now because of the Band-Aid that was put on our economy to prop up the banking sector last go round, and they've saturated us with more debt to where consumers are tapped out, the banks are insolvent, the government is in disarray. There may not be a smooth recovery like prior experiences, so don't automatically assume that this next hiccup is going to end within a 2-3 month, or 2 or 3 year type of recovery. And so I end up ending the conversation with saying that because of debt, don't anticipate receiving what you were promised. And biggest thing you can do is to get out of the system as best as you can, and prepare to be able to prepare rather to not expect to receive all the promise you've received. And if you can't control directly whatever it is that you consider to be yours, then you might want to rethink it, because more than likely you don't own it. And so of course we touched on precious metals, but I was more so saying that anything that's in the earth right now in the form of a metal or a natural resource, in the end will have more value than the paper and digital products that you guys have been sold and told to put aside and put money into. So it was a very encouraging conversation, because I hope that I basically shined a little light onto how important this situation is, because I believe, in my opinion, that coming into 2019, there will be no easy answer. There will be no typical response and based upon prior years, because we've never experienced anything of this nature where it's going to be a global situation. So with that being the case, I hope it was received well. I believe it was, so we will see. But with that being the case, what's on your mind? Feel free to chime in. Drody, Merry Christmas. It says, what else we got here? Everyone, 401ks just lost a year. It said 401ks just lost a year of gains. Monty, yeah, I even mentioned, all those financial vehicles that were packaged up and offered to investors as quote-unquote safe investments, I believe are being tested right now. And so anything that, where you were supposed to be able to park money, someone invested on your behalf and return gains to you in the future, That's going to be the issue. So I'm not surprised at all that those gains are gone, and I would anticipate a loss of more gains in 2019. Says Trump won't survive. Yeah, we'll see how things pan out in the days ahead with the current administration, because it looks like, I'm not sure if it looks like, I'm starting to get the vibe that this whole need for funding for a wall is a way for him to continue to stir the pot, to piss a lot of people off in the background of our government, the shadow government, the quote unquote establishment, all those people like that. So by using this wall as a sticky point, causes more uncertainty in our political structure at the same time that we're having financial difficulty. So I believe it's a part of his strategy. I just can't see how it's going to end well for those that the people that he's going to need for some type of support in his current administration, but also if he's trying to run for 2020. So, but we'll see. We will see. It says, oh, you're from Detroit. I'm from Toledo. Monty, how you doing, my friend from Toledo? It says, hi, Mike. Trump advised people to buy stocks in the dip. So if many people follow his advice, can they sue Trump about the wall? Gregory Manarino and Ron Paul and Peter Schiff made a very good analysis. Share with me their analysis. I don't think you can sue Trump because he's the president, and I don't think, apart from him giving, that's a good point. I don't know. I don't consider if the president says go out and buy stocks, buy this, buy that as financial advice, because if you actually, he's a leader of our nation. So when he speaks, you tend to pay more attention to what he says. But I personally wouldn't take his I wouldn't look at it as advice, because thinking alternatively, I would look at it as like he's still trying to instill confidence into the public. But he also, he's not. It's good to say that Trump's wealth and his assets don't really consist of equities the way that it does for the commoner who's dependent upon those vehicles for retirement. And so President Trump, he doesn't need a retirement savings account because he's a hotel guru or whatever it's called. And so he owns tangible assets. So, a lot of people who are part of the 1%, they don't have retirement accounts and 401ks and IRAs because they don't need those vehicles because they have cash flow. So if they own real estate and all that stuff like that, they have trust funds set up to operate to control their operations, and so they don't need retirement. So I'm sure he would say that more so just to keep the people that are dependent upon retirement at ease. Bang Chief, what's up, RTD fam? How you doing, my friend? Good evening. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thanks for tuning in this 25th day of December. Wanted to come online and just stream and find out what's on your mind. So feel free to call in, serious callers only, and then also chat in on the chat, and let's have a little back and forth. It says 1,000-point drop tomorrow. Whoo-wee. 1,000-point drops will take us below the 22, so that'll be closer to 20,000. I would never say never, and if it does happen, that's just the beginning. But hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello? Anyone there? Feel free to speak. If not, forever hold your peace, and we'll move on to the next person. Going once, going twice. Yep, if you're trying to give us a call, feel free to call back in. We'll get you on here. It says 1,000. Yeah, 1,000 points would be. When's the last time we've had a 650-point dip in half a day? As it said, the worst Christmas ever since 1918. So it's good to say we may not have had a actual. Whoa, kind of loud there. A 1,000-point dip, apart from this past Great Recession and things that end up turning into a depression or something of that nature. So, but we'll see. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Mike. Good evening, RTD fam. This is Bang Chief Callers 1. Merry Christmas, everybody. I just got a question. Let me put something out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Think about it. All right. The Act of 1871, how it made United States pretty much a corporation, and all of us are corporations. And so, since the previous administrations and all these other presidents were effing everything up for a corporation, who better do you think would be to come and run a business, either take it back and restructure to make it to make everybody forget that the corporations and go back to serving the corporation, or who better to go ahead and like parachute this collapse? Just these ideas I'm putting out, parachute this collapse. Then a great businessman is Donald Trump, other than these politicians that were obviously, you know, taking the corporation of the United States and going the wrong way. So the people that do actually own the corporation needed someone to come in here and fix it. And who other than the, you know, a world-renowned businessman like Trump? You know, I'm politically unbiased, so I don't matter. But just thinking about it, like if you think about it business-wise, you know, these people are cutthroat. So who you get the best to do the best job you need done, right?
Yeah.
It's always good to see you, and I'll listen off air and read your comments and see what everybody has to say.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you, Mike.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for calling in. Definitely, man. That's and I believe that's a great point, and that's a great point, and I believe, and I'm a firm believer rather, that, you know, we're in a position right now that's not coincidental. Trump, you know, he ran on shaking up the establishment. He ran on speaking what we consider truth from the alternative media world. And so I do believe that there is some type of strategy behind the scenes to unravel the corruption and the bribery and the falsehood of our global economy and restructure things. So I do believe that everything he's doing, he's probably the best. He's probably the most suitable for this job, given the fact that we are a bankrupt nation. And so who has more experience in bankruptcy from a, you know, a corporation standpoint, as the caller said, than Donald Trump? So I believe he is most suitable for taking us through some type of debt restructuring. No matter what, it's going to be painful, because you look at what the global debt is denominated in. It's the Federal Reserve note, aka the dollar. So no matter what, there's going to be a haircut that everyone will be subject to. But I do believe Donald Trump, you know, is the best person for it, because out of all the lifelong political figures that ran for the presidency this past presidential election, they were all long-term political figures, i.e. employees. Hillary Clinton, even though she has a business, she's an employee. The Bush family, even though they have oil or whatever, they still operate from an employee mindset. And so I believe that Donald Trump, given the fact that we can't relate to him most of the time because he speaks his mind, but he does everything like a boss, in a sense that he doesn't bow down to nobody, even if it's people he don't agree with, because he treats everything like a boardroom type of position. And based upon the books, the hotels, you know, he always comes out on the winning side of things. So I think having him restructure this debt he's the best suited for it. And hopefully he's actually able to finish off what he's starting without there being some type of interruption in regards to either his presidency, his life, or you know, putting us back in a situation where we can, you know, have more economic and monetary freedom outside of a centrally controlled institution that is the cause of the enslavement of humanity to debt. So that's my 2 cents on that. But I believe, you know, he's the most suited for it, because if it wasn't him, the person he was running against, we would definitely be, I believe, probably already in war at this current moment, or heading there, or it'd be a lot more war drums beating had the other opponent won and became president. So a good call, good question there. Appreciate you for you know, sharing that. Got another call here. Let's find out what's going on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh my God. Hey, how you doing, brother?
How you doing, my friend? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, my name is Westmount. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
I watch your show a lot of times. I just want to take the moment to call you and say that we appreciate your work.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, I'm on Instagram. You know my work. You know what I do.
Yeah, I see you on there.
I see you on YouTube. You're doing that beautiful thing on YouTube now. I'm calling from Canada. I don't even know if it's a long-distance call or if it's toll-free, but I'm going to ask you a small question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And just because I'm a type of guy who looks at trends. Trends basically gives a roadmap of what might happen in the future. That's why I like Gerald Celente as well,
right,
and other people who sees trends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, do you see a trend in the future where the Fed will do another round of quantitative easing? That's all I'm asking.
100%. It is I would go so far to say that it's a certainty that they will, because where will the next round of liquidity come from that will stimulate the economy, because based upon trends, there's a lot of uncertainty in the markets now. So a lot of people are going to be withdrawing, but yet there's not enough funds in those accounts for people to withdraw upon. So what better way than to instill confidence to get people to keep their funds in the system, other than to inject it to cause those markets to rise back up. And so that money doesn't even exist yet. So it has to be created, i.e. computer system via debit and credit off the banking system and the Fed, or the monetization of bonds that will lead to the government spending more into the economy with whatever they're going to try to do to instill confidence. So I believe there will be some stimulus very soon.
Ooh. Oh my God. Well, thank you for the information. You know, me, I like to read. I like to check all types of videos. I like to get all types of perspective so I can have an idea of what might happen, how can I protect myself.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much.
Appreciate you calling, my friend. Thanks for sharing and showing the love. Merry Christmas, buddy.
Love you, man.
All right, thanks. Peace. Good stuff as always, man. And that's the thing. This is all entertainment, of course. I'm not a financial expert, whatever. I'm just a concerned citizen, father, husband, and business owner, and just want to make sure that I am sharing what is on my mind and on my heart. And this subject matter, I believe, is dire. It's of dire importance because it impacts our lives 100%. Like, there's no way you can avoid this conversation because your world involves currency. Your currency is the lifeline of the economy, and there's issues. So I appreciate that caller for calling in and sharing his thoughts, and definitely appreciate the support, my friend. But what else? So yeah, you know what the solution? It's not necessarily that it's a solution, but it's if you were to go back in a time before we became a digital society and everything was spun out by institutions as products for people to invest in. If we were to go back that far, if we were to go back 100 plus years before computers existed, it would be much more simpler and easier to understand how and what to do to get out of the control and get out of the influence of a centrally controlled system. And so the answer is easy. Everything that's been dished out to us as an investment is a product of an institution that solely cares about profit. So everything these institutions do is all geared towards profit. And how do you make profit other than offering products that they run for you and they take commission and fees off the top of that? So they've completely removed us from what our great-great-grandparents would have known as investing, and just basically, as my grandmother, I could never understood when I was younger why she didn't trust banks. And to this day, my grandmother do not trust banks. And so she would prefer to keep money in a mattress. And I'm thinking, like, who would do that nowadays? But given the fact you could not trust banks because of the Depression and bank bail-ins and bank runs and holidays, I understand that now. So me being aware of that, I'm like, I would prefer to just have a little bit of something outside of digits and paper that I can control myself, and that tends to be physical metals. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Timothy. I'm calling from Texas. What's going on, RTD?
How you doing, my friend? Good evening. Merry Christmas. What's on your mind this evening?
Merry Christmas. I just I wanted to talk about something a little bit off topic tonight, if that's all right with you.
Is it monetary or is it political? Those are two subjects for this evening.
Yeah, it's clinical, not monetary.
Okay, well, shoot it, and it may not be my thing, but as long as it's in line with where we're going, we can cover it. Perhaps. What's on your mind?
Yeah. I think everyone wants a little switch up, but have you ever smoked marijuana before, RTD?
Back when I was a young child.
Okay, yeah. So I used to smoke it when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently started smoking it, and I feel like the marijuana is turning me into a homosexual.
Okay. So that particular subject there is not necessarily suitable for tonight's discussion. So.
Let's mix it up. Let's mix it up. I'm not trying to be like a laugh and a joke. I thought I watch your show a lot.
Right. Okay, but yet, for the sake of sticking to what I'm more comfortable speaking on, it has to do with political and monetary things. But if you're in all seriousness sharing this information, I appreciate your willingness to share that. But I'm not the person that you probably want to speak to in regards to those. So,
well, I have another topic. So, my grandfather, right, and we were sitting down at Christmas, and he kept talking about how the Jews have all the gold. They have. Have you ever heard of Jewish gold before?
The words Jewish gold is referring to any particular case? Not really, but I'm more than aware of the Jewish history just based upon the fact I'm a Christian. So from a biblical standpoint, I'm more than aware that the Jewish nation is extremely blessed, and so I do support. How do you think? Do you think God gave them the gold, or do you think that they took the gold? No, as far as I'm not aware of any particular instances outside of the Bible, but yet because of how God operates, the Jewish nation are descendants of Abraham, and Abraham is the father of nations, hence the idea that he was chosen. And so, according to Christian faith, because of faith in Abraham, his seeds are guaranteed to be blessed. And so the actual physical Jewish nation is blessed, and then also those that are believers of Christ are blessed. So if you're a believer in Christ, you yourself is blessed as well. So it's more of a.
He pulled out this coin at the dinner table, and it had like these strange religious symbols on it, and it was gold.
Yeah.
It was very old, very, very, very old. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And it looked like pagan symbols of gold, but he told me it was Jewish gold.
I wouldn't doubt it.
You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't doubt it. So if those coins are, say, authentic coins from centuries or ago, it's no question that, like always, from biblical perspective, the Jewish people had their ups and downs where they went and served pagan gods, and they sacrificed and did things that God didn't particularly like, and so they were always penalized for that. But no doubt, from a monetary standpoint, there's coins with Egyptian gods and all types of things out there. So, but if it's a true gold coin from centuries or whatever ago, that gold coin, because of the history behind it, is worth a lot more than what the current gold rate is. So if your grandfather has that or gives it to you, that boy is probably well worth 6+ figures or more because of the history of it. So, but yeah, that's what it is.
He was an archaeologist.
Okay.
I know a little bit about his past, but he doesn't really talk about. And then his grandfather was an archaeologist. But they're both Jewish. I don't practice.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
right.
They're both Jewish and they're archaeologists, and they would tell me theories about how there was some type of worshiping going on, and the gold just came about. It just came from thin air, but they weren't worshiping a god.
Right.
I forget the site in particular that they were talking about, and I don't know if you believe in the supernatural, but I don't know if this gold is cursed, because the thing about both my grandfathers is they both lost their left legs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm not kidding. Well, it was two different instances. The one, he got diabetes, right?
Okay. Let me hold up one second. Let me get you. So because I want to get more callers in, I appreciate sharing the history of whatnot, but I want to make sure I keep the lines open because we got a short night. So thank you for calling.
Listen, nobody's.
So so I appreciate the call as always. It's always good to have a variety of people sharing their thoughts and whatnot. And so from a biblical perspective, I personally I don't bash any ethnicities, races, or whatever, just because from a biblical standpoint, we're all of God's people. Some believe, some don't, but yet it is what it is. So that being the case, let me see here. Got another call here. Let's find out what's going on. And for those that are calling in, please keep their comments and questions somewhat short so I can try to get more people in. Appreciate that. Let me open this up. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up? This is Monty from California.
How you doing, Monty? What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, just wanted to call and point out some things. We got. I was thinking the dumps in the market on all the markets in the United States and all around the world. I wonder if they have anything to do with China. Because China's going to war with Christianity. They're saying no more Christmas stuff, and it just so happens we get some dumps like right before Christmas.
Yeah.
So I think, and also I heard earlier this week that their leader Jinping or whatever his name is, he was saying that like the Chinese people need to get ready for like issues that were never like that, like are almost unimaginable. So I think they're ready to tip the board over because they're ready to tip this board over. But yeah, that's what I've been thinking.
Yeah. I was fun. No, that's not funny, but I have not paid attention because most of the information that comes out of that region they're so secretive, and that they control the media there. So a lot of the information there I don't really tend to follow, apart from when it becomes mainstream. And so I don't doubt it. So if you are able to find any articles or whatnot, feel free to post them in the chat so we can check into it and dive in a little further. Because if that is true, then I mean they obviously know they obviously see the writing on the wall. And I know from past interviews and people who've actually lived in Asia who called in or chatted in saying that they encourage their citizens to acquire physical metals because of the idea of saving outside of the yuan there and diversifying. So the fact that they tell their citizens to acquire metals lets me know that they are aware of what's coming. So.
All right, cool, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you calling in, my friend. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, man. Good stuff as always. So the beep on my part is someone trying to call in, and so I haven't quite figured out how to mute that. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Yep. Sorry about that. Feel free to call back in. Lost the call there. Yeah, man, good back and forth. So yeah, so clearly, if the Chinese are being told to prepare for something, which I don't doubt that it could be the case, then we all should take heed, because here we're not being told to prepare for anything in particular. They're trying to encourage us to stay in the system. So something worth keeping an eye on. But let's get back to the chat a little bit. And caller, if you want to call back in, we're trying to get you on here. It says. What we got going says you handle the call well. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like preferably on all serious calls, try to keep it short and direct so we can get your thoughts out there, get your question answered from the community, and be able to free up the lines to get more people involved before we log off. It says breaking news: U.S. Treasury bans all crypto coins. Let me verify that. Crypto. So I can just Google that real quick and see if it pops up on the mainstream. So as of now, that statement there is not verifiable via the Google.com. So yeah, but I don't doubt that will come. That could be an alternative, because if people get out of the equity market, they're going to want to run somewhere. And then where will they run? To something that's easier, or is being positioned as easier to get into, which is cryptos. I've got a call here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, my name's Michelle.
Hello,
I'm
Michelle.
calling from Pittsburgh.
How you doing, Michelle? What's on your mind tonight?
Yes, I was just calling in terms of moving forward, in terms of like this system is obviously on its last legs, and I was kind of wondering with the skills and the technology, the skills to build up in terms of either agriculture or technology, or maybe combining them to see how can one position herself in a better position. Okay,
so say combining. I heard some about some culture. Can you say that again for me?
Yeah, like skills, like terms of like farming, canned food.
Yeah.
Also maybe developing like other skills in terms of like maybe going in the form of technology or Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But like I guess what would be more how should I say this? What would be more, I guess, the direction that one could go in? Okay,
so what I got from that is, what skills will be the most needed in the days ahead, given the change is occurring. Is that kind of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So based upon my having my ears to the ground and having interviewed lots of people before, one of my prior interviews was with a guy by the name of Leo Gantz. He's been on the show a couple times. So if you go to the RTD University page, he's there. But he gave a couple suggestions on what industries would be probably the most prosperous in the days ahead. But clearly, going forward, I believe that because of automation and artificial intelligence and the blockchain, we're going to move even more so into a digital age at a much more rapid pace, to where it's going to be a lot of job displacement coming in the next couple years as we get into this new form of an economy that will be more digital than it is paper based. So with that being the case, I think anything computer related, anything that is and more compassion based, like therapy, psychology, there's a gentleman, of which I'm going to dive in deeper to later, but there's a gentleman who I watched the interview who's he buys robotics companies, and so he actually wrote a book, and one of the sections of the book is the idea that there's going to be a massive amount of depression after this whole little hiccup or whatever happens, because mankind is wired to find pleasure and satisfaction and fulfillment from their work and working with their hands. And he was saying that because of the disruption and with technology that's coming, there's going to be more people that feel like they no longer have meaning to their life. And he was saying that he anticipates there being more suicides than ever, because a lot of people who will be deemed replaceable because of robotics, they're going to go through a lot of emotional things. So he was saying that anything that deals with human compassion, because you can't teach a robot how to have compassion, how to interact with a human heart to heart. And so amongst that other things he gave, that was the primary thing that I took away from it, was to be able to engage with people directly. So community type of thing. So between computerization, the sociological aspect of human relationships is going to be the second one. And then the third one, I believe, would just be to offer some type of value or service directly to other human beings, whatever that might be. Ideally, I think it will more so be related to whatever your particular gifts are that God has given you. So right now, what I'm doing is trying to really find out how God wired me so that I can be of more service to individuals directly, without having to, worry about my gifts being interrupted by some type of automated process or robots or whatnot. So, but human compassion socially will be, I think, the biggest thing, because there are going to be a lot of people looking for answers. And if everybody has an angle to share their gifts with somebody, I think they'll be just fine, in my opinion.
Okay, one more thing.
Yes.
I was thinking about in terms of the education also, and in terms of universal and whatnot. Do you think it's going to be more people just going through self-education because of the outrageous prices in terms of just going to the university, especially with the technology rapidly changing, and the schools really can't keep up with that?
Yeah, I believe so. And so I think the primary focus and need for higher learning now is because of the whole go to school, get a job, invest, retire, grow, that type of model that's changing right now. So there, as part of this next paradigm that's unfolding now, I believe that because of job displacement, the teachers in our society will no longer be needed. So I think as we get into the hologram and automated robotic stuff, class structure will be different, because they won't actually have to have a physical teacher in front of a classroom. So whether it can be something online, I believe they're still going to want to gather children and adults into a building, but the person that's going to be in front of them will probably be some type of hologram figure giving out information. And of course, the goal is always to give you a doctored, watered down form of education. So I believe the best education has always come from self-education outside of the current structured system. So in the future, I can see homeschool being illegal. I can see the university not necessarily having the same necessity as it does now to get that great job type of thing. But I can see more skilled trades type of things coming about, because if automation takes over and robotics becomes a major part of our life, like they're trying to position it, there's going to be a lot of new industries created, but then also I can see just more people having a lot more free time on their hands than they currently do now. So school system will be there, but it won't be to actually benefit you to get that next tier promotion type of thing as it is now. So self-education to me has always been the best education, because you can get both sides of the story as opposed to the one that's being given to you, which has already been altered and doctored behind the scenes. So that's just my thoughts on that.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Appreciate you for calling. Thanks. Yeah, man, that's real talk right there. I appreciate that. Yeah, just to really hit on that automation aspect, that book I'm referring to, I'm going to actually dive into it further and share some more information with you guys, because when I saw that interview from the guy, he's a billionaire Chinese guy, and he was saying that he feels obligated to tell people now. That's why he's out here doing a book tour. That's why he wrote the book, because he's saying that, you know, it's no way around it, because it's more efficient for businesses to have robots and have automated processes than to actually have physical people. And because of that, he said that there's going to be a lot of people suffering from depression, and it's going to be a lot of suicides. And so he just basically just sounds like from his conscious, he wouldn't be able to live with himself knowing that he's deliberately displacing people, but he's doing it to better society type of thing, you know. So yeah, that's something that we should all consider. But we have another call. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello? Going once, going twice. Anybody there? Alrighty then. Yep, if you want to get online, feel free to give me a call back. And we got a couple more minutes. We're going to dial back this evening. Just wanted to get on and find out what was on your mind. And so far, you guys have been very engaging. So I appreciate you for joining me this evening. As always, if you guys are watching and you're enjoying the back and forth, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button there. Show your support for the channel. And then also, as always, you know, I try to put together some strategies. And so if you look right here, the re-education process is just some things that I believe that can make you aware, get you to start questioning things, and then more importantly, being able to re-educate yourself with some of the tools I believe that I have done a great job of putting together over the last couple of years that can be a starting point for somebody out there. Or if you're one of the individuals that's already awake and aware, direct a family member to that information. So let's find out what's going on in the chat. It says, they do seem to be moving away from education in the traditional sense. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, when it comes to the current educational model, you look at the cost of retirement portfolios for teachers. You look at the health benefit cost for teachers. The whole idea, you know, a lot of people become a teacher just so they can have the quote-unquote lifelong benefits. And so that's going to be interrupted because it costs, and governments are broke. Our government's broke. Where the funds going to come from? So there's going to be some things that we're going to have to address, and it will end up being automation of education eventually. So, oh man, we got somebody shared a good article here. Where we at? We're looking to this one here. So here's an article. Someone, ooh, shoot, scared me. Let's get to this call. Then I want to touch on this article. That right there caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. It's kind of loud. Hello, caller. Hold on 1 second. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? It's Lou from Queens in New York.
Lou from Queens. What's on your mind tonight, my friend?
To get off of the education topic and on the monetary, I was wondering if numismatic value would have any significance in a collapse.
Good question, man. So let me share my 2 cents with you. I'm not I don't thoroughly see the value in numismatics outside of the collector's items and the collecting type of thing, because I believe at the end of the day, because of the monetary situation we're in, if you just have a coin of value, period, whether it's has a seal on it with some type of special marking and casing, will be just as valuable as if you had just a generic silver bullion round sitting down next to you. At the end of the day, it's going to be what can you do and what can this thing do for you if you need to survive off of it. So in the short term right now, there's value because there's a market for numismatic coins, so you can actually make some money off of it in paper terms now. But down the line, I don't personally see there being much of a demand for a rare coin that's going to benefit you any more than just a generic coin, especially if you're starving or need to do some type of transaction. So I think you'll probably end up losing out on having spent a lot of money now for a rare coin, anticipating on getting that same type of value down the line, when at that time you might just be wanting to get rid of it for whatever. So I think you can probably do a little bit better if you were to acquire metals for the intrinsic value sake of the actual contents of the natural metal resource than the perceived value behind some rarity or flaw or something of that nature. So that's just my opinion. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I think numismatic, I think it's a kind of waste of money.
Yeah.
Paying that premium.
Yeah.
But based off of your opinion, are you saying that you would rather stack generic rather than sovereign coins? Or?
Yeah, I would rather stack generic coins, or I am a fan of Silver Eagles, give or take the price of it. But at the end of the day, it's all about weight. To me, it's all about weight. So whatever type, however you can get your weight, I think it doesn't matter, because it's either metal or paper or computer or blips on a computer screen. And when things hit the fan like they are right now in Venezuela and other nations, based upon what we're seeing, I think that just having that will be of more comfort to you of any form than having some type of special seal on it or engraving or certification or something out of that nature from some company at that current time when you need it most. So I'm a generic guy. I don't need nothing special. I just rather have something tangible than not have anything at all.
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Since you were saying that, it's all about getting your weight up.
Yeah.
As far as silver is concerned, would you deal with like those 10 ounce or 50 ounce or 100 ounce bars, or would you just stay more with like 1 ounce and fractional stuff?
Man, I think everybody's case is different, of course. In my opinion, me personally, I don't do anything outside of what I can probably put in my physical possession. So I'm a big fan of fractional. Like I enjoy finding the different varieties of 1 gram silver, just because I think when the true price of metals are revealed, that 1 gram of silver, which is right now like 75 cents or whatever, it will be the equivalent of a $5 bill or so, in my opinion. That it'll be easier for me to move these 1 grams, for those that know the value of it, than it would be for me to try to move an entire 1 ounce silver coin that could be, say, worth $700. And so I'll probably need some type of change in between. So to give this to somebody and expect change back, I'm not probably going to get my true value from this. But if I got a 1 gram, boy, it'll be easier for me to throw some things around there, but hold on and really, take better care of the things that are a little bit heavier. So, and when it comes to, the big bricks, if you're a high net individual, then of course, it'd be hard to have stacks and stacks and stacks of little small coins. So you might, in that case, get your gold up a little bit, get your gram, get your kilo or something like that. But yeah, I personally like rounds and fractional bars better.
So all right, so since you mentioned in like the 1 gram or the 5 gram silver pieces, then what about the junk silver? Would you do junk silver, or would you stay away from that because of the purity?
Junk silver is fine, because junk silver technically is legal tender, and so I think it would definitely be something to barter with and trade with, probably more so than just a regular generic 1 gram, 5 grams, because those are all some type of mint or something. So, junk silver in the form of old coins would be your first option. But yet nowadays, I'm not sure what the premium are on those things. I personally don't have none other than what I collect just from just passing by type of thing. But definitely the junk silver first, then the fractional, and then the heavier stuff will be my way of looking at things, in my opinion.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you, man.
Appreciate the call, my friend. Thanks.
All right, peace.
Yep. Great call as always. Great call as always. So right there, we're going to end it right there on that note. Thanks for chiming in, man. Thanks for joining us tonight. For those that are still on, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button one time. We got, close to 100 people on here. It'd be great to get close to 100 people feeling comfortable enough to hit that thumbs up button just to show your support. More importantly, for those that are tuning in late, make sure you leave a comment down below. And if you found anything in this conversation informative and entertaining or eye-opening, feel free to share this, or you can download it, extract it, share whatever you want to share of this, so that more people can begin questioning what's going on. And more importantly, for those that are interested, we're going to be back here tomorrow night invite a friend, bring a friend along with you to join us for a stream. And if you're interested in any of the opportunities available here via this slideshow next to me, it's all down below in the link. Feel free to support the channel any way you see fit. I would appreciate it. Other than that, be blessed. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, because I'm sure we're going to have something to talk about in reference to how those markets are going to behave tomorrow. So be blessed, be safe. See you later.